I fucking love this shit. Dude, I fucking hate this shit. Nintendo is a company that's pretty well known for their consistent level of quality. And this is because, well, they know their shit. But while this has led to some amazing games over the years, it's also resulted in them becoming a bit arrogant at times, with them seeming to just throw out any fan feedback they might get. Because of this, we've gotten quite a few stinkers over the years, with some being a bit worse than others. Oh god, it's fucking rancid. 2001, the original Paper Mario surprises us all by being an extremely accessible and charming RPG. 2004, Paper Mario gets a sequel, and it nearly perfects everything the first game set out to do. 2007, they got a little wacky with this one. It's a 2D platformer now, and it's got a really good story. Sure wish they make another RPG though. Now it's 2010, and E3 rolls around, and whoa. Would you look at that? A brand new Paper Mario is coming to Nintendo's fancy new handheld, and it's an RPG? Well, goddamn, sign me up. Basically, the point I'm trying to make here is, at this point in time, among a certain section of Nintendo fans, Paper Mario was huge. So you can only imagine how big of a deal this was. The 3DS was just announced and set to release the following year, and for a lot of people, this game was a system seller. So we all picked up our 3DSs on launch day and immediately got burned when the price was cut just a few months later, but it was okay because that brand new Paper Mario was right around the corner. But then it finally came out, and well... Now, at the time, Paper Mario Sticker Star's reception among critics was actually relatively positive, with most praising its charm and fresh take on the RPG formula. However, jumping on over to the Dark Circle jerk that is the user reviews section, tells us a completely different story. A story of a game that is apparently so shit, so much shit in this motherfucking dumb piece of shit atrocity. Huh. So what happened? How did a game with so much anticipation and excitement riding on it turn into this? Well, let's rewind a bit. In 2007, on the surface at least, things were looking pretty good for Paper Mario. Each entry had received very high praise, and the latest release, Super Paper Mario, would even go on to sell more than double what its predecessors had. However, behind the scenes, things weren't looking so bright, with the series going through a bit of an identity crisis. This becomes pretty apparent when you go through the various interviews that were conducted around this time. When asked about the future of the series, the game's director, Ryota Kawade, seemed uncertain. But Kensuke Tanabe, Paper Mario's producer, was a bit more direct, stating straight up that he doesn't think things will ever go back to how they were before. This makes me think that internally, there was a lot of uncertainty as to what a Paper Mario game should be. Should it be a traditional RPG like before, or have more of a focus on action and adventure? Eventually though, Kawade would step away from the series to work on other projects like Brain Age and a Fire Emblem card game. So now, not only was Paper Mario left without a sense of direction, but it was also left without a director. This caused the series to be passed on to a completely new team, with only a handful of previous members returning. In 2009, they'd start work on a new Paper Mario game, which would make its first public appearance at E3 2010. Like I said before, the overall reaction to this build was extremely positive. It looked to be exactly what the fans were asking for, with turn-based battles and partners finally making a return. But not everyone was feeling so hot on it, because when Grumpy Wumpy Miyamoto got to try it, he straight up called it boring and thought it was too similar to the Thousand Year Door. That's a bad thing? So Miyamoto became a lot more involved in the project and requested quite a few changes. This included modifying the overall tone of the game, as well as requesting it to have less of a focus on story. Apparently, in Miyamoto's own words, it's fine without a story, so do we really need one? In addition, they were now only allowed to use already established characters from the Mario universe, so no Vivians or Bobberys allowed, I guess. This all completely went against what Paper Mario was known for, and as you can imagine, made development quite a bit more difficult, as they were now forced to really think outside of the box. However, I can kind of see where Miyamoto was coming from. You see, Mario games are usually built around a singular mechanic, and rarely have any excess fluff, such as a story or original characters, to get in the way of that. This design philosophy is what makes Mario games so enjoyable to such a wide range of people. Miyamoto basically invented this philosophy, and Nintendo applies it to pretty much every Mario game they work on. But just because this works for a traditional Mario game, doesn't mean it'll work for a paper Mario game. RPGs are just too complicated of a genre to apply such a simple design philosophy to. And whether Miyamoto likes it or not, that's exactly what Paper Mario is, an RPG. Anyways though, the singular mechanic they decided to go with here were stickers. You see, in the E3 2010 builds, stickers were used to solve various puzzles in the overworld, and as far as I can tell, that's all they were used for. But after Miyamoto got involved and applied that patented Miyamoto design philosophy, they went all in on stickers. Puzzle solving, battles, progression, it's all stickers, baby. So how do you apply something so simple to every aspect of an RPG? Easy. You don't. But fuck it, they did it anyways. Now, puzzle solving, sure, yeah, I like that. Stick the bridge sticker on the gap to get across. Yeah, that sounds like it could be pretty neat. But also applying that same mechanic to everything else? Yeah, I don't fucking think so. Let's get the big one out of the way first. Battles. So battles are turn-based, and just like previous entries, you also have action commands, which have you timing your button presses to do more damage. But that's where the similarities end, because from here on out, it's all fucking stickers. So each one of your attacks corresponds to a sticker. You find these stickers everywhere in the overworld or purchase them from a shop. But get this, here's the kicker. Each sticker can only be used once. Now, on paper, this sounds like a pretty interesting concept for a turn-based RPG. But in reality, it's fucking stupid as shit. You can only carry a limited amount of stickers, and if you run out, that's it. You literally can't do anything else. Well, besides running, sometimes. More on that later. This one-time use system basically encourages you to hoard all of your best stickers and not waste them on weaker enemies. But doing so will clog up your stupid fucking sticker album and prevent you from picking up more stupid fucking stickers. So then you gotta throw out a bunch of the stupid fucking stickers because they thought it'd be fucking hilarious if some took up half a fucking page. Honestly, I ended up just running from any battle I could, because, get this, battles are literally pointless. Like, actually, there's no point to them. Remember, this is that tried and true Miyamoto design philosophy we're talking about here. So anything that could conflict with that singular sticker mechanic gets tossed to the fucking curb. This is ultimately why the partner characters got axed, because they conflicted with the battle system. But they also axed any kind of experience or leveling system. So you actually don't gain anything from battling. I guess you get a few coins, but coins are everywhere in this game. I mean, you literally get showered with them for completing a level, so they're not much of a reward. Battles are just a complete waste of time and resources. Like, there's a couple of sections where you choose to either fight or just pay the enemy a ransom, and the game is like expecting you to just fight them, but nah, just take the money, dude. So yeah, I just ran from any battle I could. Emphasis on could, because while you can run from most battles, including bosses, sometimes the game's just like, oh, I don't fucking think so, champ. I literally made it all the way to the final boss, only to fucking run out of stickers. And this just so happened to be one of the few battles you can run from. So all I could do is just sit there and die. Doesn't that sound like a fun system to base your entire fucking game around? Then there's progression, which is also tied to stickers. So you go through the game using a mostly linear world map, which is so much less interesting than the interconnected worlds of previous games. But that's not even the worst part. Far from it. Things, yes, things. What things am I talking about? Every fucking thing. Fans, scissors, vacuums, a fucking goat. These things are collectibles you'll find throughout the game, and while they can be used in battle, they're mostly used for progression. Like, there's this windmill, right? And goddamn thing won't move. So you need to use the fan thing to make it spin. But silly you can't just use the thing. You have to bring the thing all the way back to the main town, fling it at a wall to turn the thing into a sticker. Now you can stick the thing sticker onto the overworld to move the windmill. This isn't just a one-time deal either. There are a ton of puzzles like this throughout the entire game, and every time you have to find the thing, bring it back to town, fling the thing, then go back to the area and use the fling thing. But that's still not even the worst part, because these things are never found in the levels they're actually needed in. Like, take this stage for example. It's a volcano with a bunch of lava blocking your way. So, I guess it's just a dead end, right? Nope! You're just supposed to know that you need to place a fucking fridge on top of the volcano to freeze everything over. But there's not a goddamn fridge in sight. No, you have to scour each level for a fridge, then bring it all the way back. But don't forget to fling the thing, of course. Nothing clues you in on the fact that you might need to place a goddamn fridge on a volcano here. Not even your worthless sidekick Kirsty. God, I fucking hate Kirsty. This shit is even in the boss battles, where you're expected to know what thing sticker to use and when. Nothing stops you from accidentally using it too early or too late as well. The game just expects you to know all this beforehand. Now, these puzzles could be fun and charming, in a way, but they're just so poorly designed. I'm not saying they needed to, like, completely hold your hand and tell you the solution or whatever, but just some kind of hint as to what you might need would have been, you know, nice. Hell, just put the thing in the levels they're needed for, and that solved this whole mess. It all kind of reminds me of those super old point-and-click games where you were just supposed to experiment until you eventually found the right answer. Or, you know, just look it up. This is the complete opposite of good game design, and it's baffling that something like this came from Nintendo of all companies, who's usually pretty thoughtful when designing this kind of stuff. Just nothing works in this game. Battles are utterly pointless, the way you progress isn't intuitive at all, and the whole sticker gimmick is just dumb. Nowhere does this game benefit from this streamlined design philosophy. This whole game just feels like it was cobbled together to appease the higher-ups at Nintendo or something. But that's not to say it's all bad. I mean, the soundtrack and visual style are nice. Also, there were a few moments where I was actually having quite a bit of fun. Like this area where you're going through a big mansion hunting down booze, or even the entirety of World 3 where you're helping this big old wiggler find his lost body segments. God, I love this guy. Stuff like this honestly made me feel like I was actually playing a Paper Mario game. These moments were just filled with that Paper Mario quirkiness that I love so much. But these moments are only like 10% of the actual game. The rest is just you slogging through a ton of super generic linear levels as you interact with a bunch of toads that all have the same boring personality. The majority of this game just doesn't feel like a Paper Mario game. Honestly, they should have just called it something different, like Cardboard Mario or something. Now, I've spent a lot of time ragging on Miyamoto here, but to be fair, he's not entirely to blame. There were also quite a few other Nintendo higher-ups that viewed Paper Mario in a similar fashion. And like I said, I can sort of understand why. Other than just being overly protective of the Mario IP, they wanted to give Paper Mario that same universal appeal that the mainline Mario games are known for. And you wanna know the crazy part? It might have actually worked. Well, in Nintendo's eyes at least. While it wasn't by much, it managed to sell more than both the original and the Thousand Year Door. And since Nintendo was already uncertain about returning to the original RPG formula, this might have been enough to convince them that this was the right direction to take. Honestly, if Sticker Star didn't sell as much as it did, I think Paper Mario, as a franchise, would have just died here. It's extremely obvious that none of the higher-ups at Nintendo are even remotely interested in making anything that resembles the first two games. Nintendo and the hardcore Paper Mario fans just don't see eye to eye. The bigwigs at Nintendo call the shots, and this is what they want Paper Mario to be. If the people don't want this, well then I guess the people don't want Paper Mario. It sucks, I know, I mean, I'm right there with you all. I truly want nothing more than for things to go back to how they were before. But I really do feel this is why Sticker Star turned out the way it did. So yeah, from what I can tell, this is the reality of the situation. And you know what? I'm a positive person. Like I said, there were some things in this game I was able to enjoy. So who knows? Give it a game or two and maybe this formula could work. Or, you know, it could not.